Hi everyone, my name is Nur E. Bangon, and this is my report and research question for System Administrator. So let's start. So the first question is the name 3 benefits of using AD integrated zones. So the first benefits of using AD integrated zones is by creating AD integrated zones, you can also trace hacker and spammer by creating reverse zone. So the second benefits of using AD integrated zones is the AD integrated zones all for incremental zone transfer which on transfer changes and not the entire zone. This reduces zone transfer traffic. So the third benefit of using AD integrated zones is the AD integrated zones support both secure and dynamic update. So the second question is, what are the benefits of using Windows 2003 DNS when using AD integrated zones? So if your DNS topology includes Active Directory, use Active Directory Integrated Zone. Active Directory Integrated Zones, or the AD Integrated Zones, is enabled to store zone data in the Active Directory database zone information about any primary DNS server within an Active Directory integrated zone is always replicated. Why? Because DNS replication is single master. A primary DNS server in a standard primary DNS zone can be a single point of failure. In an Active Directory integrated zone, a primary DNS server cannot be a single point of failure because Active Directory uses multi-master replication. So, updates that are made to any domain controller are replicated to all domain controllers, and the zone information about any primary DNS server within an Active Directory integrated zone is always replicated. So the third question is, you install a new AD domain and the new and first DC has not registered its SRV records in DNS. Name a few possible causes. So the possible cause of this is the machine cannot be configured with DNS client her own. The DNS service cannot be run. So next is, what are the benefits and scenarios of using stub zones? So understanding stub zones. A stub zones is a copy of zone that contains only those resource records necessary to identify the authoritative domain name system, or DNS. Servers for that zone. A stub zone is used to resolve names between separate DNS namespace. this type of resolution may be necessary when a cooperate merger requires that the DNS server for two separate DNS namespace resolve names for client in both namespace. So the next question is, what are the benefits and scenarios of using conditional forwarding? So rather than having a DNS server forward all queries, it cannot resolve two forwarders. The DNS server can forward queries for different domain names to different DNS servers according to the specific domain names that are contained in the queries. So for forwarding according to this domain name, conditions improves conventional forwarding by adding a second condition to the forwarding process. A conditional forwarding setting consists of a domain name and the IP address of one or more DNS servers. To configure a DNS server for conditional forwarding, a list of domain name is set up on the Windows Server 2003 based DNS server along with the DNS server IP address. So when a DNS client or server performs a query operation against a Windows Server 2003 based DNS server that is configured for forwarding, the DNS server looks to see if the query can be resolved by using its own zone data or the zone data that is stored in its cache, and then if the DNS server is configured to forward of the domain name that is designed or designated in the query a match, the query is forwarded to the IP address of a DNS server that is associated with a domain name. If the DNS server has no domain name listed for the name that is designated in the query, it attempts to resolve the query by using standard recursion. So next question is what are the difference between Windows clustering, network, load balancing, and round robin, and scenario for each use? So first, window clustering is a method of using two or more servers to provide a higher level of availability, reliability, and scalability. Where the NLB or network load balancing is another clustering technology that combines the multiple clustering server called host to get a high availability for web-based services like FTP servers or and servers, proxy servers, terminal services, virtual private networking, and streaming media server. Then the round robin is another load balancing technologies which utilize a DNS server instead of having the actual dedicated server hardware. Windows clustering can be used in application server, ERP server, database servers. Exchanging server clustering is also based in Windows clustering. As I mentioned above, NLB can be used in web-based services to get uninterrupted service uptime. If you have the multiple web server hosts in different parts of the world, the round-robin technique is used. And the next question is, how do I work with a hostname cache on a client computer? So the client DNS or client cache CM delete deletes all the content of the DNS client's cache. Running this CMDelete is equivalent to running ipconfig flash DNS, since clearing the DNS cache removes all the entries. It deletes any invalid records too, and force your computers to repopulate those addresses the next time you try accessing those websites. These new addresses are taken from the DNS server to your network is set up to use. DNS caching allows any DNS server or client to locally store the DNS records to reuse them in the future, eliminating the need for new DNS queries. The domain name system implements a time to live or TTL on every DNS record. TTL specifies the number of seconds the record can be cached by a DNS client or server. So the next question is, how do I clear the DNS cache on the DNS server? To clear the DNS cache on the DNS server, first is go to cmd prompt, then type ipconfig or the flash DNS. So the next question is, what is the 224.0.1.24 address used for? So Win server group address used to support auto recovery and dynamic configuration of replication for Win servers. For more information, see Win's replication overview. Win server group address used to support auto recovery and dynamic configuration of replication for Win server. So the next question is, what is Wins and when do we use it? Wins is a client-server system consisting of two primary components. First is the Wins client running on a Windows computer, and second, and the Win server hosting a database with various records representing host name to IP address mapping. So that's the ending of my report, and thank you.